What's up, Joe?
Hey,
How,
buddy.
you, how we doing tonight?
We made it. We made it.
We ain't crossed that finish line yet, buddy. We ain't crossed that. We ain't crossed it yet.
We're there, baby. We can still four putt on the last hole and come out ahead.
And wasn't that interesting? Before we get into anything else, that was pretty wild.
I watched his. I just got finished watching some of his press conference, and he said that's the first time that he kind of stopped all day and let it really hit him. So I think that was just a little bit of emotions coming out.
The second putt was a bad stroke. The third putt was like my 3-year-old putting on my mat at the house stroke.
Yeah.
Like just it was wild. But anyway, welcome into another episode of The Turn. I'm Andrew Putters. I'm here with Joe Nicely, lead golf editor at rotoballer.com. We come to you each and every week, breaking down DFS and a little bit of gambling here and there when we're talking about the PGA Tour. So if it's the first time you ever heard us, this is our part 8 of 8 series that we have done and covering the Masters, everything DFS and gambling. It was a marathon, Joe. I'm happy that it's come to a conclusion. But maybe we bit off more than we can chew on this week. But I have enjoyed getting out in the DFS community and the gambling community and talking just golf, man, and talking about reactions and what we can see, and like to hear what people's storylines they think it's going to be and whatnot. Before we get into what happened today, what's your take back from this week as far as us going through this 8-day marathon?
Yeah, man, I'm like you. It's I just feel like I've learned so much talking to all these amazing different people, and also talking to them throughout the week, kind of as thought processes progress, as feelings change throughout the week. So it's been so interesting and so much fun and such a learning experience. We got to talk to so many smart people in the PGA world. And a huge thanks to all those guys. That's what's made this possible for us to do this all week. Is these amazing people making time to come on with us. Josh Bennett, Spencer Aguiar, Byron Lindeque, the Model Maniac, Rob G, some of our good friends from over at rotoballer.com, Tyler Tambolini, who's one of the best PGA DFS players in the world. And I think you and I both were just so impressed with the energy Tambo brought and the knowledge. So we really appreciate all those guys. Our good friend Joe Weil hopped on with us last night and talked through the possibilities for today. And I feel like we were extremely accurate on kind of what we were thinking. That seemed to be what come to fruition. So just a huge thanks to all the guests and friends that joined us throughout the week.
Yeah, Joe. So let's talk golf now. You said we were pretty accurate on some things that we saw today. I say the one thing that I do want to say one thing we completely whiffed on, I believe, was the Rahm Tiger Woods situation. Fatigue really came into the factor today. You could see it. And Jon Rahm, maybe I feel like what we were thinking was the actual opposite. Maybe he went out there with something to prove in that group. I mean, he had a different look in his eye. Of course, we didn't see any complaining, but I mean, that's probably because he didn't hit that many bad shots. But maybe he went out there with something to prove, being a million shots out. I'm in Tiger's group. This is going to be the biggest crowd I'll probably ever play in front of. That's kind of the MO I took from it. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I think maybe we thought that, since Rahm was out of it, maybe the motivation factor wasn't going to be there. But you go back to the first of the week, kind of with the Tiger comments about that he's never really shared much info with Jon Rahm. Maybe there was some motivation there. And maybe that's an angle we should have looked at. It wasn't a match. It's one we touched on last night because it was super interesting. Not one that I actually put any money down on. But yeah, man, a tough week for Jon Rahm that he may be salvaged a little bit. Maybe he can take some positives out of that effort today in the final round. Certainly his best one of the week, and maybe something he could carry forward from what was otherwise a really tough week for him.
Yeah, I think a few guys probably salvaged their week today. Especially on paper. I got to watch fairly a lot of the middle part of the day, and I'll be honest. What I realized today, and what I've realized really the last couple of years, is with the app. I almost enjoy Thursday, Friday. I enjoy more the Sunday morning as much as I do watching it come in. I know it's probably because we've had blowouts every year, but Tigers year in the last 4 or 5 years, people running away with it early in the round. But I enjoy, you look getting a matchup set up, or getting a showdown in there, and they send out a couple of early feature groups on the app, and along with the my group part version of the app, which is ridiculously awesome. And I almost enjoy that more than actually sitting there watching the actual broadcast. I bet I watched less than 15 minutes of the broadcast as a whole for the whole week.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the app's amazing, man. It's so great, but it's also kind of a source of frustration for those of us that do play DFS every week, because you're sitting there thinking, why can't I have this every week? How much better, how enhanced would the PGA DFS experience be every week if we had this available for every PGA Tour event? So the app's awesome, but also kind of frustrating in that way. But I hear you. It's been I think a lot of that comes down to, as we knew going into the day, we knew that this one, there was a good chance this one could be boring. We talked about it last night with Joe. We felt that Cam Smith was the one player that was really capable of making a run. As far as a dangerous guy that could be there with Scottie Scheffler. I certainly felt like Cam Smith was maybe the one guy that Scheffler didn't want to see there. And it looked early, man. Cam comes out firing with a couple birdies early and cuts this thing to 2. I mean, through 2 holes. And then everything just kind of flip-flopped there on the 3rd when Scheffler made that amazing chip shot that happened to go in, and Cam makes bogey. Kept it interesting. It looked like things would maybe be coming off 11. The tournament was still in doubt, I would say. And then Cam just blows up on 12. So we knew going into the day that there was a chance that this one could kind of be boring. So I can understand why maybe, folks weren't as fired up today. That's also got a lot to do, I believe, with where your DFS lineups are. If you got some lineups kind of primed to make a run or in the mix, that obviously heightens things as well. Unfortunately for me, that wasn't the case this year. So just kind of enjoyed it for what it was. Hope to see an exciting finish. The front 9 was fun. We had a lot of fun moments today. Rory McIlroy, we talked about on this show last night. One of my favorite bets going into the day was Rory to make a top 5. That was at plus 450. And we talked with Joe last night that this was just such the classic backdoor Rory McIlroy spot. And sure enough, man, comes out with an amazing round today of 64 for his best Masters finish ever, a solo second. And Colin Moricawa kind of popped in there too with a cool chip in right after Rory. So there were some neat moments today, not a lot of drama down the stretch. And Scottie Scheffler, man, what can you say about it? Yeah, he made it a little boring for us, but it was certainly an impressive display of 4 rounds of golf in tough conditions. All 4 rounds, really. The first 3 days, we had the weather and course conditions that were really tough, and then a huge amount of stress on him today to get through that. So just an amazing performance from Scheffler.
Yeah, and for me watching it today, I thought today was going a really, really bad direction for me early. Overall, from my all the information I've put out on Twitter and stuff, but actually it turned in. I had tons of momentum coming in. I had first I let out with Scott and Davis. I had Davis minus half a stroke and was basically down the whole round. Adam Scott blows up a little bit there on the back, and bogey's 18 for me to win that. That was awesome. Then Fitzpatrick got it turned around. Kisner started going backwards. So I had a couple of matchups there, one for the tournament, one for today. Cam Champ, man, what a great weekend for him. very impressive. I watched every shot on Saturday. I was texting with you a little bit about him. Very impressive weekend. Also,
he's been a dog at Augusta National, man. He's back in the field next year too, with this T10 finish.
Exactly. Yeah. Also I've been very impressed with JJ Spawn. I've talked to him 3 times probably on this podcast. I did pick him up a little, dabbled a little with him in DFS, and talked about him several times this week throughout the tournament, and just how gritty and grindy he was this week. And I had him matched up against Miwoo Lee. And man, what a front night that guy put on. Lee, I watched a lot of his shots this weekend too. Very impressive. Bombs it, putts good. A little bit streaky, maybe a little less polished. Cam Smith, I would say that's probably maybe it can make a lot of birdies, but also blow up a little faster. That very impressive with that young man. But looked like that was headed the right direction. Then Lee comes out, Lee birdies 17 to beat me there. So I already mentioned the Woods Rom stuff, and of course power over Nah. I had power over Nah today. I thought this was going to be easiest spot for power to go out and just, methodically shoot a 71 or 70. I thought that was pretty standard with the weather today. And I thought Nah would have to play great, which guess what? He played great today. Kevin Na played unbelievable all week. He, as much as I know that you don't like Kevin Na because he's burned you so many times in the past with WDs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When he's on, he's a fun golfer to watch. He's hitting incredible shots, walking putts in. I was impressed with him this week as well. And I actually tweeted out several guys. Just, I know a little guy from Knoxville, Tennessee don't mean nothing, but just watching these guys grind. Taylor Gooch, top 20, impressive in his first showing.
Mm-hmm.
I did dabble a little bit in the McElroy top 5, and McElroy top 5 and the Scheffler live ad when he was plus money after round 2. That pretty much put me on top for the week, almost 5 units to the good.
Yeah, and while we're talking about those guys, man, let's give a couple of shout outs to our guests this week. Our buddy PGA Tout was on with us Tuesday night. He was all over Rory McIlroy. I didn't love the bet honestly this week, but John was all over Rory. Spencer liked Rory as well. Spencer Aguiar liked Rory as well this week. And maybe nobody that I know outside of taking down a huge GPP or something had a better week than our buddy Byron, the model maniac, who had outrights on Scottie Scheffler and an outright on Cam Smith. Wrote it up in his article, nailed all of his placings in his Rotoballer article, Breaking 100, which you can catch over there free every single week. But Byron had an amazing week. John and Spencer both on things, so shout out to those guys, man. That's really huge. Anytime you can nail a winner or the guy in second or fighting in the mix to win a major, anytime you can nail those guys in an outright or kind of have a good shot, it's really impressive stuff.
Yeah, and I tweeted out earlier today. I know he's sweating bullets over this Rory situation because he also had a Scheffler Smith 1-2 prop that I don't know what it would have paid.
Byron did, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, I wanted to bring this up tonight. Rory McIlroy 64, Colin Moricawa 67. Most entertaining twosome I've seen since the Sergio Mickelson Ryder Cup match, I would say. Really, I know Roy made a couple of early birdies and birdied 8 and chipped in on. I didn't think it really picked up steam till he chipped in on 10. Is when it kind of got that little feeling going around Augusta, and then he stiffs it on 13, ridiculous, and holding it out on 18.
Yeah.
Stupid
Rory. Yeah, when Rory's going, man, he's maybe the most fun guy in golf to watch. Just unbelievable when he gets it going, and he was just lasering drives today, man. Missed opportunity at 2. I think he had an 8 iron into 2 and made par. And then after he makes the eagle on 13, I don't know that he hit another fairway. So I'm not sure if he kind of got in his own head or if that's just kind of the way it worked out. But it feels like he could have went deeper, honestly, AP, than 8 under.
Yeah, he got a little quick on
Yeah,
those last 3 drives.
Feels like maybe there was, of course he kind of stole one back there with the chip in on 18, but it feels like that round could have went even deeper. I mean, I don't know that there's a scenario where he's winning the tournament there, but just really fun, man, and kind of vintage Rory. You just always wish that Sunday Rory, when no pressure's on, would be the Rory that comes out on Thursday. And we've just not seen that over the last 6-8 years, however long it's been since he won a major. We've seen this kind of repeatedly. We've seen when he's loosened up and the pressure's off, on a Saturday or Sunday, he'll play the golf that we know he's capable of and tear some of the toughest golf courses in the world apart. But he just can't seem to put it together for 4 round in majors, whether that's physical, psychological, I don't know. I'll let other people be the judge of that. But, I wish we could just get 4 days of the real deal Rory in a major.
I think we did. We did in the U.S. Open there whenever he won by like 12 shots. I think that's what we got that week. I'm going down the leaderboard here.
It's an interesting thing to dive into, man. When we've seen the 2 hottest players in the world to this point this year lead this thing pretty well throughout. Cam took a step back there down the stretch, but he and Scottie Scheffler played the best golf that we've seen in 2022, and they kind of leapfrogged the what you'd call the superstars this week. Rory, JT, definitely Brooks, DJ, kind of maybe the old guard. So it's just interesting, man, that the game of golf is changing. It's something we talk about a lot on this podcast. These young guys aren't messing around. They are coming on. So, it'll be kind of interesting to see how the rest of the majors play out this year.
Yeah. Going down the leaderboard just a little bit. I mean, I watched a lot of, I had Will Zalatoris start all week on my app, so I got to see a lot of his shots. I mean, if he takes out, he shoots 3 under for the tournament. About the 67 was about the worst he was going to shoot today. I don't know if you got to watch any of his shots. I mean, he was stiffing it all day. Hitting the water twice yesterday. Shoots 75 in horrific conditions. Hit in the water today on 2.
Missed like a 3-footer for eagle on 13.
Yeah, I just he could have went way lower if in this tournament. Finishes tied 6th, so that puts him back-to-back top 10s in this first 2 Masters. Didn't get to watch much of. I watched a lot of JT in round 2. Didn't watch much of him the last 2 days. I don't know if you got to see him today. What JT got going on?
I mean, typical JT stuff, man. He would go on a birdie run and then make a ridiculously bad bogey and kind of kill his momentum, and then go on another birdie run, and then make a ridiculously bad bogey. I mean, it's just classic JT stuff, man. I don't really know what to say about JT. I mean, I think we all agree that he's one of the best players in the world right now, and it's probably going to be for the next several years. I mean, he hit a shot on 15. I think it was like, this was when nobody was going for 15. I can't remember. I think it was on Friday. It's Friday or Saturday, but nobody was going for 15 and 2, and he hit, I think, a 5-wood into 15. This was just randomly I caught on TV, and it was maybe the best shot I've seen all year. That was just unbelievable. I believe it was a 5-wood that the dude landed as soft as a 9-iron. It was just unbelievable. When he hits those type of shots, and you're like, how is this dude not winning more? Maybe it's the level of competition, maybe it's his lack of concentration, but JT's certainly frustrating, man, from a DFS perspective and from a statistical perspective, because he does do everything so well, but the wins just aren't coming right now. Maybe that'll change. A lot of people liked him this week. I did as well. And he had a T8. It's not as if the guy played bad, but he had that terrible opening round and just had too much ground to make up. So, JT's kind of a puzzle that we're all still trying to figure out right now.
So what's DJ take from this week? I still feel like DJ, uncharacteristically hit some wayward iron shots over the last 3 days. Really since the back 9 on Friday, Um, I feel like he's still trending up though from where he was, and he's going to make some kind of little run here. I can see it in the future. In this springtime through the U.S. Open, I could see him making a little 2 or 3 tournament run where he's right there in it. And probably if he's in the field next week, it sets up perfect for his game.
Yeah, I think a overall really positive week for DJ. I'm sure he's a little frustrated with how he kind of was right in the mix there. Didn't get more in contention, but I think overall he's walking away with a positive vibe. Especially after missing the cut in this event last year, and also just not playing a lot of great golf over the past year. I agree with you 100%. I feel like his arrow's kind of pointed up. I think we'll see one of those kind of DJ runs at some point. Over a month, the 6-week period. I think we'll see him grab a couple wins. It feels like he's trending in that direction. So definitely one I'm circling. Shane Lowry had a really nice week after playing really, really well all this year leading up to this. So he's one I think we want to keep our eye on going forward, especially in major championships. I really like the way he's playing right now. Colin Moricawa came through with the top 5. Another Masters start under his belt, Andrew, and another, huge jump. I believe in his first start, he finished like T42 or T44. Brought that up to a T18 last year, and now a solo 5th. So I think we're seeing the progression that we see with a lot of guys at Augusta National. I don't know that it's naturally a great fit for Colin. He hits a cut, and we know, kind of how important being able to hit a draw is at Augusta National. So I don't know that the golf course is a great natural fit for him, but I think he's figuring it out, and his results are progressively getting better, and maybe he'll eventually be able to take this thing down. And Corey Connors, you mentioned Will Zalatoris, 3 consecutive top 10s for Corey Connors in the Masters.
Love Corey Connor. I mean, I feel like barring a crazy something going on with their game, we got to be penciling Zalatoris, Connors, maybe even a little bit of Sanjay in there, Cam Smith every year on this course. Really, as long as they're at medium form and they're not way up in the price scale. I like those names. We've already talked about Champ. Sanjay M, I mean, didn't have his best stuff today, but top 10 at his price point, that's good. I like it. Fitzpatrick really didn't play bad this week. +2 for the week, -2 today. Started off pretty slow today, so got it back to -2, T14. We definitely got to be looking at him for next week. He's always a favorite there, probably the chalkiest talk this week. You'll hear his name everywhere. I want to throw a couple of names out here that we want to be looking at in the future. Any major championship where there's a little bit of shysty weather, they've already proven they're there. Harry Higgs and Taylor Gooch. Hard, difficult golf. Little bit of wind, possibly even par is a good score. I'm going to be highlighting those 2 names because you're probably going to get a decent price on them against the field.
Harry Higgs, man, narrowly missed that top 12 that would get him in next year's Masters. So he's going to have to play some really good golf. Maybe hopefully get a win over the next year to get back here next year. Hasn't played great in the lead up to this year's Masters. Qualified with his finish at the PGA Championship, and it would have been cool to see him get inside that T12 line, so he would be back in next year. But very, very nice outing from him. Taylor Gooch as well. You mentioned a guy that we've kind of liked all this year. Had just we talked about it with Tambo, had just a really strange DraftKings price tag that made him borderline unplayable with where he was priced there, unless you were just really trying to go against the grain in some GPPs. We talked about with Tambo kind of maybe spinning up to be contrarian with Gooch. But unfortunately, you kind of felt handcuffed with him from a DFS perspective, at least on DraftKings. But a really nice outing from him. And your boy, Jason Kokrak, sneaking in there with a nice finish and a huge surprise for me personally from Hideki. I had no Hideki exposure. I just didn't feel like going down that road after what happened at the Players and what happened at Valero. But a very nice title defense, very classy week from Hideki, getting a T14.
Yeah, very surprised from Hideki. Thought the injury was going to be more hindrance, and great week for him. Kokrak is, I think we've seen Kokrak, Jason Kokrak. He's going to be probably a top 20, open up the suitcase and pour the $100 bills in type of guy in major championship golf. He's got major championship golf type of game, hits it straight, hits it long, and putts pretty decent. Obviously around the green is his weakest thing. And even though that's a big deal at Augusta, he hits it good enough to get his way around this track. I don't have his all of his results from Augusta right here on hand, but I know the last couple of years has been pretty good. And I'm on my last person I'm gonna talk about tonight is I'll talk about two more guys. Harold Varner III. Let's be honest. Take away the third round, he shoots under par every round. Shoots an 80 on Saturday, which a lot of people blew up Saturday afternoon. And he was in the last few groups there, and he got a little taste of what that's like. And very resilient, come back 69 today. And I think he actually made a bogey on the way in to get to 69. So very impressed with him. Old boy out of Charlotte. I love the grind. Like I said, we get to watch a lot of golf when we're at Augusta. And Bobby McIntyre, 8 majors played, 8 cuts made. Write that down for the rest of the year, guys. 8 majors played, 8 cuts made. Bobby Mack.
Yeah, Bobby Mack was kind of he's a guy I touched on some articles this week. We touched on a couple of times on this show throughout the week with our different guests. Kind of a trendy pick, but just because a guy's a trendy pick doesn't make him a bad pick. And a T23 had a really bad round yesterday. I think he hit one, lost a ball, I think on 13 yesterday, which kind of really derailed his whole tournament. And certainly his day yesterday, but bounced back today to shoot 3 under, finished T23. And you mentioned had a top 10 at the Open last year, has made the cut in every one of his major championship starts in his career. So Robert McIntyre is a guy that, we can certainly want to keep an eye on from a DFS perspective. Anytime we're looking for savings, he's going to be a viable option going forward, I believe, with the way he's played in these majors. I'll toss out a couple of things. It seemed to be a real big form year as far as guys with really good form. Obviously Scottie Scheffler with the multiple wins, Cam Smith with the multiple wins. Guys with really good form played well this year, but we also, AP, kind of, a trend that we want to keep an eye on going forward. Charles Schwartzel up there ends up with a T10. Danny Willett played really, really well, ends up with the T12. So these Masters veterans, that they didn't play a huge role this year, didn't figure in on the victory on Sunday, but a couple guys that have been around the block on this golf course played really well. Lee Westwood had a good week, and his form had been horrible. I think he ended up at T14. So, even though this proved to be one of those years where form kind of played a bigger role than some other years, the course history guys, the veterans, the kind of seasoned Augusta National performers, we still saw some of those guys up there playing well this year.
Yeah, Charles Schwartzel, 37 years old. I think Masters champion a decade ago. Is that right? Was it 2012 or 2011 he won? I don't have it right in front of me.
Yeah,
one of the two.
It's somewhere in there, yeah.
So let's just say let's say 10 years ago. I heard a stat this week is very interesting. Charles Schwartzel, 37 years old, virtually an unknown whenever he won 10 years ago. Played in 40 majors. This is his 40th major since winning. 15 top 20s. And he ain't getting out of the 6K range until he retires, and probably unless he goes off to this, goes on a little run here, he's not going to be out of the 6,000 range in any major. 15 top 20s. Mm-hmm. That sounds like an auto click to me, Joe, in the future.
Yeah, it's definitely a guy you can consider. I think, especially in this event. I'd also point to the Open. The British Open is another. The Masters and the Open are the two majors, I think, where you can look at course experience, experience with the elements and the course conditions like we see in the Open Championship. It's a guy where an event where I don't mind to take a guy that's maybe past his prime a little bit, maybe hadn't shown the best form, but he knows how to handle the course. I'm willing to take that line in DFS events, for the Masters and for the Open. I think the U.S. Open and the PGA Championship are a little different animal, usually because the course setups are so tough and so lengthy. There are obviously exceptions to that rule with every course setup. But, man, a guy like a Schwartzel, a veteran, a Danny Willett, a Lee Westwood, they're the type of guys that we've seen play really well repeatedly in the Masters and the Open Championship. So good shout out there, AP.
So, buddy, I'm spent. We've done 8. This is our 8th show. We try to bring y'all next level content every night. I'm just, I'm thankful it's over, but it's also worth it to an extent. Like you said, we've learned so much this week. It really caused us to actually dig a little deeper every night and find something else, that we could draw a new storyline possibly. And hats off to Scottie Scheffler. Literally, him and this Ted Scott seemed to be a pretty decent duo. I know he's won 4 times in 7 weeks or something like that. This is Jason Day like year,
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think he's obviously on a heater right now, man, and he's going to ride this thing as far as he can for as long as he can. But past that, I think this is a long term dude, man. I really do. I think this guy's going to be around a long time. You saw he didn't make a double bogey this week. In those course conditions, Andrew, his short game was extremely impressive, and it's been very consistent since he's been on the PGA Tour. We've seen him play well in other major championships. His length off the tee is incredible. When the iron play is solid, I think his around the green game, his putting is excellent. So, I think this is a guy that we're going to see a lot of in majors for the next several years.
Yeah, you've been talking about it for about 6 months. He's got major championship type of game, hits it long, putts good, hits his irons good. Really just need to put it all together. And it seems that he's been doing that for a few weeks now. And I want to catch myself on something I just said. I said, this is Jason Day like, Spencer. And what I meant by that was that little run Jason Day went on where he won like 8 tournaments in 14 months. We really haven't seen much of this kind of a heater, really, other than, Tiger did it about 3 or 4 times, and then Jason Day did it once. You could maybe argue that DJ a little bit, maybe a little bit of George Smith there.
DJ closing out 2020, that kind of that COVID stretch, which culminated in a win in the November Masters. I think, you'd have to throw that in there. Won the FedEx Cup over that time frame. Certainly a dominant stretch there. Cantlay in the playoffs last year, a really nice stretch. We've seen it from some of these guys, but like you said, man, no more than a handful of times is it anything we've seen outside of Tiger Woods. So, really impressive from Scheffler. Be interesting to see kind of his schedule going forward. Obviously got the PGA coming up in May. But be interesting to see how much he plays between now and then. So it's definitely one to keep an eye on, man. I think this guy will be in contention every time that we tee up a major championship this year.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention this earlier. Cam Smith, when we talked about Cam Smith, and I feel it's a little bit redundant at this point, but shoots 73 today with a triple bogey on 12 and literally hit it everywhere. Hit it everywhere. With a triple bogey and still shot 1 over.
Yeah, we knew the volatility was there. We talked about it kind of at length last night with Joe I, because we felt like this was a 2-horse race. So obviously we spent a lot of time on Cam and Scheffler, and we know that Cam has the ability to go low, which he flashed today. But there's also that that volatility that comes with that. He can make bogeys as quickly as he can make birdies. But still overall pretty impressive round considering he's given chase, trying to reel Scottie Scheffler in, kind of forced to be aggressive. So a really impressive round. I'll tell you another impressive round today, man, that kind of went under the radar with all that was going on with, obviously Scheffler and Cam and Rory. Shane Lowry shot 69 with a triple. So very impressive round from Shane Lowry today, overcoming that ugly triple early in the round to shoot 69, finish T3. Another player I really like going forward this year.
Yeah, definitely major championship material. Joe, 8 of 8 complete in the books.
We did it, buddy. We
did it. Yeah. Thanks for all our guests again. We'll give you a shout out on Twitter later. Once again, he's Joe Nicely. There he is. He's Joe Nicely. I'm Andrew Putters, and you have listened to our Masters Marathon. Good night, Augusta. You listen to the Turn Fantasy Off podcast.